Hello, hello, my beautiful family. I'm your host, Mimi Talud. Welcome back to another episode of Make Your Time Matter. Today, we are diving into a very powerful topic, which is the choice between positivity and negativity. Why this topic? If you can harness the power of positivity, it can become the greatest tool that you can use to achieve your goal or to uplift others. Positivity isn't just a mindset. It is a tool that can open doors, strengthen relationships, and help you stay motivated. I'm going to share a quick example of how I use positivity to accomplish my goal. When I was in college, right before I graduated, there was this rumor that only 10% of college graduates will get hired right after college. I'm not gonna lie. When I heard that statistic, I was scared because I couldn't understand why that number was so low. I'm like, only 10% will get hired. I pay all this money. I study hard and I'm about to graduate just in a few months. And now I'm finding out there's a high possibility that I might be jobless right after college. I knew I needed a job, so I couldn't afford to be negative. So I had to be positive. So I started telling myself, you know what? I'm getting a job right after college. And if they are only hiring 10%, I am in that 10%. So I started to pray and I started to put in some work. I'm one of those people who believe that you can ask God for help, you can pray, but you have to put in some work. You can't just ask God for a favor and don't do anything. For example, you can't ask God, please help me pass my final exam, and you didn't study. If you didn't study at all, don't be surprised if you didn't pass the final exam. I feel like, yes, ask God, help me, but put in some work. So, since I was asking God to, help me find a job, I had to put in some work. Every Saturday, I went to the library. I used to work on my resume, work on a cover letter, and I used to apply to a bunch of different jobs. Some jobs I qualified for, others I didn't qualify for. But at the time, that didn't matter. All I care about was that I was applying to a bunch of jobs. I was sending my application out and I was praying and I was hoping for the best. The way I saw it was that the more job I apply for, the more opportunity I would get to go on an interview and possibly getting that job. So I stay positive, I pray. And right after I graduated, I started going on different interviews. And when I was on vacation in Florida visiting my grandma, I got an email that I got a job at a law firm as an office assistant. I was so happy. It was my first job and I was going to get paid salary. It wasn't much, but for a recent college graduate to get a job and also in the field that I studied for, that was a blessing. I was happy and I knew that my hard work paid off. That's how being positive can help you accomplish your goals. On the other hand, negativity can hold you back. It can limit your potential and the potential of those around you. Negativity can be like a weight holding you back and influencing how you see yourself and how you see the world. Now, I'm going to share a quick example of how a negative mindset can hold someone back. I have an aunt who never takes the parkway. And the reason why she doesn't take the parkway is because she believed that she's not skilled enough. So she tell herself that I can drive on the parkway because I'm not that good of a driver. I'm not skilled enough. So every time she has to go somewhere, she takes the local route and she just doesn't take the parkway. As you can see, negativity can really hold someone's back and, limit your potential, limit your capabilities. So that's the main difference between being positive and being negative. Now, I want to move to the second part of this episode, which is a little different. I want this episode to be a little bit more interactive. So for this part of the episode, I'm going to ask you guys a series of self-reflecting questions. I want you guys to think about these questions and come up with an answer, be honest with yourself. Now, if you're at home and you are like me and you like to write your questions and answer down, you can go ahead and do that. That's if you want to do that. And if you're driving, please keep your eyes on the road. Just listen and then you can think about your answer. Question number 1. Do you consider yourself a positive person or a negative person? Why? Before you answer the question, I want you to think about an example from your life when you use positivity or negativity to influence yourself or those around you. Question number 2. Would others describe you as a positive or a negative person? For this question, reflect back on feedback that you might have received from your friends or family. Question number 3. Have you used positivity to go after something you wanted or to motivate others to go after what they wanted? How did it feel? I want you guys to think of a moment when you use self-motivation to go after something that you wanted, or when you were positive and kind of like push someone like a friend or a family to go after something that they wanted. Question number 4. Have there been a time when you let negativity stop you from pursuing a goal? Think of a time when you missed an opportunity because you are being negative. Now that I asked all those questions, I hope you guys had some time to think about them and reflect on them. Now I'm going to share my answer to some of those questions. So an example of when I use positivity to accomplish my goal was when I was in basic training. Like I mentioned before, I am in the military. And when you join the military, one of the first training is going to boot camp. They call it basic training. Doing basic training, you're away from your family. You can't really use your cell phone. And, basic training can be very demanding. It can be physically demanding, emotionally demanding, and mentally demanding. So during that time period, I had to be very positive to motivate myself, and tell myself that I can do it. I can do all this training. I can survive. I couldn't afford to be negative because there's a lot of mind games that the drill sergeant will play with you. So a lot of it it's mental. So you have to be very strong mentally. To be strong mentally, you have to be positive and you have to use positive self-talk to motivate yourself, which is what I did. So during that time period, I had to talk to myself all the time, telling myself I can do it, pushing myself. And eventually I did it. I completed the training, I graduated, and now I'm a soldier. Now, let me reflect on whether my family and friends think I'm a negative person or a positive person. I think both. Honestly speaking, I try my best to be positive most of the time, but I am only human, and obviously I do have flaws, and sometimes I can be negative or I can say something that's negative. One thing that I know I like, that I appreciate about my family and friends is that if the way I handle a situation was in a negative manner or I said something negative, I know my sister will call me out and she will tell me, why are you being negative? And that's my cue to reflect on my action, to reflect on what I said, and kind of like trying to change my ways. Lastly, I'm going to share a moment when I let negativity overpower me. That will be with traveling. I love to travel. And for the longest time, I've been telling myself, I'm going to travel the world. I want to go to as many countries as I can. And for the longest time, even though I was telling myself that I was going to go to all these countries, I wasn't really traveling. I wasn't doing much. And I realized the reason why I wasn't traveling was because I was negative. I was telling myself stuff like, traveling is too expensive, I can't afford it. Or I would tell myself that I don't have anyone to travel with. Another one I started using was when I first started my career and I had to pick my vacation a whole year in advance. I started telling myself, well, I picked my vacation a year in advance and none of my friends have the same schedule, so it's hard to plan a vacation. So once I realized the pattern, because I was wondering, why is it that I haven't traveled around the world like I said I would? I realized that I was being very negative and I wasn't taking initiative to actually travel. So once I realized that, I had to change the script and I had to become more positive. So I started telling myself that, you know what? I'm going to travel somewhere new every year. Every year, I'm going to a different country I never been to, and I'm also going to go to a different state. At least one country, at least one state. And once I started telling myself that, that was it. I was like, I'm no longer going to use money as an excuse not to travel. I'm no longer going to use not having anyone as an excuse. I was like, if I don't have anyone to travel with, I'm going to do solo traveling. Once I made up my mind, I started planning for it. And before you know it, I was traveling. That's another way that I use positivity to go after what I wanted in life. So before logging off for this episode, I want you guys to practice 3 habits. Habit number 1, start each day with affirmations. I cannot stress this enough. Affirmation works. Affirmation is literally one of the keys to your success. Affirmations are very positive and they will give you the little push that you need. to keep going. Habits that you need to practice is surround yourself with positive people. You want positive people in your life, people who are going to motivate you, people who are going to uplift you. Habit number 3, replace a negative self-talk with positive one. As human, we do have a habit of criticizing ourselves or talk down to ourselves or being negative, always saying we can do this or we can't do that. Change those scripts and start to be more positive. Use positivity as a fuel to go after your dreams. And remember, positivity is a choice that we make every day. It's not always easy, but the reward are worth it. That is it for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you guys like this episode, please give it a thumbs up. And if you feel like you know someone who might like this episode, share it with them. And hopefully I see you on my next episode. Au revoir.